Hi, Mimi.
Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for coming today.
Okay, thank you too for inviting me.
Of course. Um, would you like to start now, or would you like to wait till more people come on the live?
Um, Maybe we can start now because maybe some people are um, doing their activities, so we can start now. For,
Okay, sure. Um, Thank you, everyone, for being here on our first IT live session on youth and sustainable behavior. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave it in the comment section, and we will refer it to Miss Osa for you. Thank you again, Osa, for coming today. Before we start, I will give a brief introduction on yourself and your work. So our speaker today is Miss Osadani. Sorry, internet connection. So our speaker today is Miss Osadani Rama Pamina from Indonesia. She's the head of the Eco-Social Entrepreneur Department at Back Indonesia, owner of Life and Co-Zero Waste Bookstore, and she's also currently active in the organizations Siengo Samrang and Jerelima Samrang, focusing on environmental issues, and is a recipient of the Ocean Solutions Microgrant from the Sustainable Ocean Alliance organization. And in addition, she's an eco-social ranger who has experience in managing various community empowerment programs determined to solve social and environmental problems. So, starting off, Osa, what is sustainable behavior in your experience and opinion?
okay, before I start to explain, let me. I already take some notes to avoid some mistakes. Let me read my notes, and if it is okay for you, because my English is not really good, I will use some translation application. Is that okay for you?
Of course, no
Okay,
worries.
okay. Thank you. Okay, talking about sustainable behavior, we are knew that almost most of human behavior nowadays underlines almost all of environmental problems such as air and water pollutions, climate change, and also deforestation. I don't know why people nowadays engage in unsustainable behavior despite their concern about broader consequences. Like if we use single-use plastic, we don't pay attention to what consequences will we get after this. Sustainable behavior is basically the opposite of the regular human behavior. It is simply just how we as a human being can be responsible of what we do in our daily life. It is behavior that escalate people's values, norms, belief by focusing on providing actions for well-being of all living beings, including present and also for the future generation. That's my opinion about sustainable behavior.
Thank you, Osa. Uh, to our audience who is just joining in, feel free to post your questions in the comment section at any point during the live. So, Elsa, with your experience, how important do you think it is for youth today to promote and practice sustainable behavior for a positive environmental impact, whether it's for their community or for the world in general?
Yep. I think it is important for us, the youth or the young people, to practice sustainable behavior because, as a young people, as the agent of change, youth can take a big part to change the face of the world, right? Every little steps we take as youth can make a big differences. So practice sustainable behavior by taking a little step by step. We can start by read something about sustainable behavior, learn about it, as much as we can, then start to change our unsustainable habits by, for example, by bringing up our own tumbler, stop using single-use plastic or plastic straw everywhere we drink, then start to share our stories or our knowledge about sustainable behavior, because youth have the power to change or encourage people to do what we do. It is important for us to learn more, to practice about sustainable behavior, because our little step can change the face of the world. We can reduce the number of carbon footprints. We can also combat the climate crisis and so on. So it is very important for us, the young people, to start to take actions and practice sustainable behavior.
With that, to inspire our youths and our audience a little more, how do you personally practice sustainable behavior?
Okay, for me personally, I start to change my single-use daily needs or daily projects, such as I bring my daily projects, such as here. I use a bag that is from the plastic bags that I use every day. I buy it somewhere in my bank, waste bank, and the mother of the community saw this and turn it into a bag. And also, I start to change my like this cotton pad into the reusable one. I start to what is that? This is. I start to use reusable menstrual pad, and I use a soap that is non-SLS or SLS. I can refill it everywhere, every time, and I use shampoo that is using no SLS or SLES. It is my my little steps to change my behavior into a sustainable one, for example. And then another way I start to manage my household waste. For example, when I have an organic waste or food waste, I turn it into a composting, such as a biopores and so on. So that is how I personally practice my sustainable behavior.
With other than CO2 emission reduction, there has been a lot of awareness when it comes to the importance of eating a plant-based diet when it comes to sustainable consumption. So with that, what are some other ways that eating a plant-based diet or eating less meat can have a positive impact on the environment and the issues involved? What is your opinion on this?
Okay, yes, it is true that eating a plant-based diet or eating a less meat can have a positive impact on the environment, because cow, meat, and or lamb produce a big amount of carbon footprints. To breed cows, it takes a lot of plants to feed them, and besides that, cow dung also produces methane gas, which is 28 times worse than the carbon dioxide, which can certainly accelerate the rate of global warming. So as a youth, we can start to eat plant-based diet. Organic plant is better, and try to consume less cow meat or lamb and other food who has large amount of carbon footprints. And we can search or Google it everywhere, whether some food has a big amount of carbon footprints or less carbon footprints. And the important thing is we have to learn every time, learn every day, and learn more about it.
Definitely true. Although I think for many people, even if they're strong environmental advocates, sometimes there are certain constrictions or limitations that make them feel like eating a plant-based diet may not be doable for them. So what would your advice be on this? How can they, if they wish, how can they slowly develop mainly plant-based diet?
How, let me repeat your question. How can people start to eat plant-based diet, right?
Right. just since it's usually an uncommon concept, since we are more used to an omnivorous diet, what would your advice be to people who would like to start eating a mainly plant-based diet?
Okay, for who wants to start to eat a plant-based diet, I think that the easiest way is when we eat plants or a plant-based diet, we have to think the impact of what we eat first. For example, when we eat something, when we eat this, then when we eat some plants, then we can give more values to our environment. Every time we eat, try to think what impact can we give to our environment, and then other way for them or for who start to eat the plant-based diet, we can try to learn to cook some food or some food who are plant-based and try to make it into something that is delicious. And like, for example, in my country, we have tempeh and tofu. It is a plant-based food, but it tastes like just same as delicious as meat. So that is my advice for youth who wants to start to eat plant-based diet. Start to think what impact we can give every time we eat, and start to what is that? Make a delicious food. Try to cook something delicious with plants. You can learn everywhere and Google it everywhere. Like,
Of course. Thank you, Osa.
yep.
And in your opinion, how can we educate communities with limited access to education on how they can practice sustainable consumption? And how can our governments contribute to this?
Okay. How can we educate people with limited access to education? According to what research that I have done with my community, usually people with minimal access to educations or people with low welfare, usually they tend to see things from an economic perspective, right? They will choose something that is considered cheaper than seeing the value of its product. That's why, as an educational agent, we need to apply the right educational method according to their preferences. If they think that economical values is more important than the values for that the impact for the environment, so we have to share the economic impact for them. For example, we can try to share if we bring our own tumbler every time we go out, we don't need to buy drink from the store so we can save our money. Or for other example, when we change our regular menstrual pad into the reusable menstrual pad, we don't need to buy new menstrual pad every month, right? So that is
Yes.
the easiest way to educate communities with limited access of education or communities with a low welfare.
So how can the government help the communities achieve this, especially when the resources might be limited?
Okay. For the government, um, of course, they have to make the right policies to apply sustainable behavior. For example, in my city, Semarang, Indonesia, the government has already banned the single-use plastic in shopping centers to reduce waste generation. And then the regulations that are issued by the government have a big impact on the consumptions pattern or productions of the society. Besides that, government have to collaborate with the communities that are concerned in environmental problems to educate the public, the people about the environmental problem and the importance of implementing sustainable behavior. That is, I think that is what the government can do for us to make a better environment so the people can implement the sustainable behavior easily.
Do you think that due to the current COVID-19 situation, with all the constraints that are happening, with all the limited access to these communities, how can we do our part to make sure that these communities can get the education that they need? And of course, how can the government do this as well?
How can we make sure that the communities will get a proper education, right? So for educate people or communities, we cannot just do we cannot just do it once or twice, because education, the way we change our people behavior, it is something that we have to do regularly, intensely. So the proper way for us to make sure that uh, they can implement sustainable behavior is we can what is that look for what they everyday life. We have to what is that make maybe what is that wait a minute, I will Google translate it. Yeah.
Sure, no worries.
Yeah.
And to people who are joining, thank you for coming here today. Please feel free to leave your questions in the comment section for Ms. Osa.
Okay, we can have keep an eye on them and try to communicate them. We can ask them whether what is difficult for them to implement, or what kind of behavior they think that is hard for them to change. So we can provide a more tools or more needs or good for them, and the government can also support local small and medium enterprises that is concerned in environmental problems to help them gain more money, more consumers, and then to gain more border what is that border like zero waste stores.
Thank you, Osa. So we have a question from Fitria. Is providing an economic-based solution work to increasing people in community participation to do sustainable production or consumption?
Is providing an economic-based solutions work to increase people in community participation to do sustainable work to increasing people, I mean, in community participation? Yes, I think that providing economic-based solutions, it is work to increase people in community participation. Fitria, I think, could you please give is providing an economic-based solutions work to increasing people in community participation to the sustainable? Could you help me explain the question, because I don't really get.
I think what Vitria is asking is providing an economic-based solution work? Does doing that increase community participation to do sustainable production and consumption?
Oh, okay. For what I've done in my community, it works when we explain to the people or communities with a limited access to education. It is works every time we explain it with economic-based method. They usually they ask us or they say to us, zero waste lifestyle is expensive. Zero waste lifestyle is not suitable for people who have a low welfare income. So it works every time we explain to them that having a sustainable behavior can provide more or giving more values to their lives. So from what I've done it in my communities. It always works every time we explain it to them in economic-based method.
Thank you, Osa, and thank you, Fitria, for the question. Please feel free to keep them coming. Um, Osa, you're the owner of the Life and Co Bookstore. Can you explain briefly on your work with the store and why are stores like this needed to be established during this time?
Okay. Yeah, I own the Life and Go, a zero waste bookstore in my country in Semarang, Indonesia. Life and Go is basically a store that have a zero waste concept, so we don't provide a single-use plastic to pack our products. Almost everything we sell is organic based ingredients, and the customer should bring their own containers or bag. We also support our local farmers, our local business or local products to reduce carbon emissions in the distribution process. We know that if we have to buy something from the other countries, we we cannot reduce the number of carbon emissions in the distribution process, right? So we support the local product, we support the local farmer to decrease the number of carbon footprints. And then we practice the Think Global, Act Local slogan, where we have a big missions to combat the climate change and to save the world from destruction by re-enhancing the existing local values. As we know that local traditions in each region must have the same missions, right, to defend natural wisdom. And this kind of zero waste concept or zero waste store needed to be established as a place where people can begin to learn about sustainable behavior. In the other way, this kind of store isn't only giving solutions for environmental problems, but we also giving solution for the social and economical problems as we support the local farmers, as we support the local small and medium enterprises who have a product that is from waste, and also we can reduce the number of carbon footprints as I said before. So this kind of store is very important to be established in every place, I think.
Thank you, Osa. So, what would your advice be to youth entrepreneurs and businesses who would like to educate the importance of eco-social entrepreneurship to other businesses?
Okay, my advice as an entrepreneur, the most important things that we must have to do is we have to have the desire to learn and continue to provide value to what we sell, increasing the value of the product and having a good impact on the environment and the society is something we should pay attention to as entrepreneurs. We must not exploit nature only for the benefit of the humans or the benefit of our business. And then to educate people, of course, we need to practice ourselves first. We cannot educate people if we are not educated, right? So we need to practice and educate ourselves first. Then we can give example to people how we can implement sustainable behavior. We can share our stories with others. And for everyone who wants to educate people, process of educating people is not easy. We cannot educate people just by one try or second try, as I said before. But to change our people mindset or people behavior, we have to repeat what we want to convey to others until that they can finally understand and start implementing sustainable behavior. So my advice is we have to be patient to educate people. We have to learn more and educate ourselves first before educate other people.
Exactly. So, what would your advice be to people who just started to be inspired to have an eco-conscious business, but they're not sure where they can have the resources or where they can learn more about how to start such a business, what would your advice be to those people?
Okay, so for those people who wants to start this kind of business, eco business, right? Um, I think that my advice is we have to build a network first. For me, when I started to build this kind of business, I have a zero knowledge about this, but I learn and I do some research. I call some of my friends from other cities and other countries, and I ask them how to manage this kind of business, and they teach me how to build a zero waste store. They teach me, they tell me where can I buy or buy the products, where I can make the product myself. So that is building a network is very important for who wants to start a business like this with zero knowledge, uh, because networking is very important for me.
Very true. So, what would your advice be for to build up your network to do so?
I think that joining this kind of sessions like APLIVE sessions, joining some forums, local forum or international forums, join some communities will help us increase or build more networking. So it is important for us young people to make friends, to joining some activities within the local or national or international programs. It really helps us to build our knowledge, to build the networking, and to it will make our what is that, our business easier, because we have we have many friends who can help us to educate people, to tell more consumers about our business or our products. So try to join as much as activities, webinar, seminar, and also this kind of live sessions as much as we can, because we have much time as a youth, right?
Thank you, Osa. So, when it comes to living a sustainable lifestyle, can you tell our audience in how this any sort of sustainable action that you do, what other SDGs can they influence in a positive way?
What other SDGs, right? Talking about SDGs, I think that talking about SDGs 12, about sustainable consumptions and productions, it is basically how we can get more values, more what is that, more values of product with less. What it is mean that we can get more. For example, I can get a new bags from using less waste, less money. For example, like this, I use less money to buy this because I make this from the plastic that I've already got from the store. SDG 12 is, I think that it tells us how to do more, to practice more with less waste, less energy, and it will help us to give more value to our lives.
Thank you, Osa. Um, I have some questions here. How can you see the bookstore prospect in the future? So, where in the future, where can you see your bookstore going, and what other positive impact can it do?
Yep. I think that in the future, bookstore will is not only a store, but it will be a place where people can have discussions. They can have training, or it may be a place for them to learn, as they learn in school, how to practice sustainable behavior. And I see that maybe in the future, most of store will implement this kind of zero waste concept, same as the bulk store. They will not exploit the nature. They will use organic ingredients, and they will not use a single-use plastic, because people nowadays people start to know, start to realize that our earth is in the danger. So Bookstore is having a big opportunity to grow bigger, and to what is that? It can be a home or a place for the people to start new living, to start to give more values to their life. Not only a store where they can buy living goods. It can be a bigger place with a bigger value, I think.
That's very true. Uh, so what are the challenges to build the bulk store itself?
For me, in the Life and Go, I see some challenges. The first is we have to educate people, right? So not so many people have the what is that? Have the need to do the sustainable behavior. They think that what is sustainable behavior? They think that it is not easy to implement, right? So they think that it is not important to have a sustainable behavior, but they don't think the consequences that they will get in the future. For example, when we use single-use plastic, we can harm the environment, we can harm the animals in the sea. We also can harm ourselves, because some fish will eat the microplastics that we threw in the sea, right?
Yes.
Most people don't see this as a what is that, as a consequences that we have to take in the future. So to my challenges is, how can I make them realize, how can I tell them to what is that, to change their behavior? Because as I said before, changing people behavior is not something that we can do easily. It needs many times to tell them, to explain to them, to ask them, or to what is that, to tell them that is sustainable behavior is something important to do. So that is the challenges to the boxer. And the second is um, Life and Co is basically located in the central of the city. We know that city is not something that we can plant uh, organic farming, right? So
Yes.
we need to search or looking for a farmer that is not in our city, to get the products that we can that we want to sell in our product in our store. For example, the organic rice, organic tea, such as that. That is the challenge to build the box store itself.
Very true. Um, I think also one of the problems that arises in cities is that people would prefer to shop in these large corporate businesses, these supermarkets, instead of local businesses that are uh, implementing these sustainable development values and also organic products. So what would your advice be to these businesses? How can they encourage people to shop more locally?
Okay. I think that to reach more consumers, to attract the consumers to uh, shop local products, we have to do a promotional activities. We have to, what is that, to communicate more with them, uh, to do uh, some actions like this, some project like this, live sessions or seminars or discussions, and also we have to do some door-to-door educational programs to reach more people who are living in the countryside area, and to introducing our products. We have to highlight the value itself. Once again, we have to highlight the value that we bring in our store. We have to highlight what kind of impact we can give to the environment and also to the society. Um, we can share our stories. We can tell them that besides we giving a solution for the environmental problem, we also give to the social and economical problems that people have, because we help a local farmer, we help the local small and medium enterprises. We can help more people by buying local products. We don't need to what is that to buy something from the other countries, because our countries is enough. Our countries is what is that? Is rich enough, is diverse enough to get or to provide what we need in our daily life.
Very true. So I have a question here. What are the products that you sell in the bulk store? How can we keep the quality, since maybe it will use less chemical for preserving the food?
Okay, what are the products I sell in my bulk store? The first I sell organic plant and such as organic rice and tea, and I also sell shampoo, soap bar with has no SLS or SLES, as we knew that SLS and SLES is it will harm the environmental, especially the water. And also we sell some like bamboo straw, and then a tote bag, and the other kind of goods that is give more what is that give more good impact for the environment. For example, I sell this kind of wait this kind of shampoo bar, and then a soap bar like this. And then how can I and my team keep the quality since make it less the chemical or preservative food? Um, it is another difficulties that I face with my team to keep the quality, since it is not using a chemical or preservative food. But to preserve the food, we may use some refrigerator to store our product, and but it will give another impact if we use refrigerator, right? Since it will produce CFC, right? So we have to what is that to make sure that the temperature is not rising in our store. We use
Right.
we don't use aircon, but we use the fan to prevent them to what is that to prevent or to make sure about the temperature. And we don't store our products together with other products, so it will not what is that it will not mix up and harm other products. That uh, what we can do to keep the quality of our products.
To our audience member who are unfamiliar with the SLS and SLES chemicals, would you like to explain what they are and how they can cause an impact in the environment?
Okay, from what I've read, SLS and SLS is a chemical thing that is produced from a palm oil. Since we knew that Indonesia has a problem with palm farming, right? Our forest is we burned our forest to to produce more palm oil, and then almost of our people here use palm oil to cook, to make SLS or SLES, that is also not good for our skin. It will irritate our skin. So besides it is not good for the environment, it is not good also for our skin. And then the SLS and SLES will what is that will make the water a pollution, since they are not um, cannot be degradable.
That just goes to show that every choice you make can have a widespread positive or negative influence to not just the environment, but to life on land, life below water, and other issues around the world, of course. Uh, we have one question. How long does the preserved food last with the saving method?
Okay, about the saving method that I said before, I think that every product has different time of preservations. For example, about for example, tea. We can store our tea within 2 months. So we cannot buy or store a large amount of tea. So we just buy it in the right amount, so it will not be a food waste. For tea, it is about 1 or 2 months, or for rice, it will last for about 3 to 4 months. The important things is we have to prevent the moth or the ants coming from our storage.
Very true. What would your advice be for when it comes to storing perishable foods or products? You want to, of course, you want to keep them fresh, but you don't really want to waste extra energy or other resources that can cause a negative impact. So, what would you suggest?
Okay, I will suggest for who wants to store their products. For the first thing we do is we have to have a proper container to store them. For me personally, I use the glass container to store our products, and it is not the air cannot come into the container. It is important to keep our products for the air or water. And then what's your up and down? Okay, and then how can I um, what can I suggest is we have to keep an eye for the temperature in the storage room. That is at least what I can suggest. First is we have to use the proper container, and the second is we have to keep an eye of the temperature of the room.
Of course, so regarding to Fitria's question, what are your ups and downs until today or in life and co?
Okay, for the ups is I learned so much here because I meet um, some new people who are teaching me about sustainable behavior. I gain more knowledge about that, and people know more about sustainable behavior. I can educate people more, and it is such a up and downs in educating people. But the downs itself, I think that because it is a business, right, we need to get profit to make sure that our business lasts long, right? But yeah, but in order to reach people in a low welfare, we have to press the press the price. We have to, what is that, to make sure that our product price is not really expensive. In other way, we have to take it is my honest opinion, we have to get more profit or income to make sure that our business will last long. So that is the difficulties that I face too, other than educating people. So the downs itself is managing business is not as easy as I see before. But yeah, I think that I saw more happiness because I can give more values to myself. I can give more values to the environment and to society, and giving solutions to the problems that we knew that we see every day.
for our audience and of course your audience at Life and Co, if they would like to learn more, if they would like to be educated more, or maybe ask you on how they can contribute or ask you for any advice, how can they, what would you suggest they can do?
Um, as I said before, as a youth, what we can do is we have to build more networking by joining activities or programs such as seminar or discussions, and we have to learn more from the people who have more knowledge about sustainable behavior. Um, Conducting a discussions, it is a better way or best way to accelerate our knowledge about sustainable behavior. Um, I think that that is my advice for people who wants to learn more about sustainable behavior and also wants to learn more about managing business, because meeting people will give us a more, what is that, more knowledge, more, yeah, more knowledge. I think that
Yes,
building a networking by joining some activities is an important way for us as a youth.
very true. Uh, so we have around 5 minutes left. So what would your concluding message be to youths in the Asia Pacific region on youth and sustainable behavior itself?
Okay. Youth have a big role in changing the face of the world. Therefore, youth must start taking actions to save the earth. If one youth can implement sustainable behavior, then I think that other people can also follow it, because we have the power, we have the energy, we can encourage people, right? So for us young people, don't be afraid to take steps, even if you start with small steps, because your small step can make a big difference to change the face of the world. I think that is my conclusions for today.
Thank you, Osa. So would you like to give your contact information or the social media page of Life and Co for our audience, just so
Okay.
they could reach out? Yes.
Okay, thank you. If you want to get to know more about managing zero waste ball store or learn more about sustainable behavior, you can contact me in OSA 15 at alste.id, OSA 15 at alster.id, or you can contact me through DM in Instagram at OSADHANI, Osadani. Okay, and you can also follow our social media, our store social media in Live and Co Semarang, LIFANCOSMG, or Backend, BACKEND.
We will also be putting OSA and Life and Co's social media links along with our video after this. Thank you again, Osa, for coming. It's an honor to have you here, and we hope to hear more from you and learn a lot more from you. Thank you very
Yeah,
much again.
thank you, Mimi, for inviting me. I'm sorry if there is some mistakes or
No
my trouble
problem.
in speaking this.
You were great. Thank you again.
Thank
Have a
you.
wonderful day. Have a great day.